The border of human space did not look special from the outside. To most captains, it was only a thin curve of sensor buoys and dark stations that floated in the quiet between stars. But every hunter, smuggler, and pirate who worked the fringe knew the same rule. You did not cross that line unless you were ready to pay for it. Colehart watched the soft glow of that border on his forward screen. His ship, a worn but well-kept cutter with dull gray hull plates, drifted in on a slow and steady course. He sat alone in the pilot chair. His hands rested lightly on the controls, but he did not move them. The guidance system followed a path he had already set hours ago. He looked calm, almost too calm for a man with half the galaxy chasing him. His dark hair was short, his jaw rough with stubble, and there were faint lines under his eyes from long nights and long jumps. An old scar ran from his left eyebrow down to his cheek. He did not try to hide it. He had stopped hiding anything years ago. Outside the ship, the last marker of neutral space slid behind him. Ahead, the first row of human defense buoys picked up his signal. Tiny lights flickered on across the network like a row of waking eyes. They were silent, but they saw everything. In a relay hub not far from that border, leaned over her console and frowned. She worked in a narrow control room filled with quiet voices, blinking panels, and the soft hum of cooling fans. She had long brown hair tied back in a simple knot, and a small mug of cold coffee near her hand, forgotten hours ago. She was an independent analyst on contract, the sort of worker no one noticed until something went wrong. Her job was to watch data streams, track strange patterns, and flag anything that did not look normal. Most days were dull. Most days, she watched cargo ships drift by, patrol craft cycle their routes, and miners grumble about fuel costs. Today did not feel like most days. A sudden burst of signals moved across her screen. Contract feeds, bounty boards, and encrypted hunter channels all flickered at once. Lines of text began to vanish, one by one, faster than she could scroll. A long list of open bounties shrank to almost nothing in less than a minute. "What is going on?" she murmured. Her console chimed as more data came in. She tapped a few keys and pulled up a second display. Dozens of hunting crews that she had tagged in the last week suddenly dropped their active pursuits. They were not losing their quarry. They were choosing to stand down. Called up one ship by habit. The Rook, a heavy interceptor with a record of brutal captures, had been tracking a high-value target for 3 systems in a row. The captain, Carter, had a reputation for finishing what he started. He did not scare easily. Now his ship's tag flashed in her system with a single clear update. Pursuit canceled. Reason, none given. Status, holding position outside human space. Stared at that line. For to walk away without a fight, without at least a complaint, meant something strange had happened. She checked another file. The Hunter Dawn's Edge flown by showed the same thing. Pursuit canceled. Holding at border. No attempt to cross. She pulled up the last known target path, trying to see what they all had in common. A red line drew itself across the star map. It moved from a cluster of outer worlds, dipped through a narrow corridor of trade lanes, then slid straight toward the faint curve of human space. A soft icon blinked at the very end of that line. Target ID, Colehart. Sat back in her chair. She did not know the name, but the bounty logs did. Colehart had been flagged by at least 7 different syndicates in the last month. Charges included theft, data breach, and destruction of property. The reward had climbed fast, from a small sum to a figure large enough to draw many dangerous people. But now, as his ship crossed into human space, every hunter who had chased him was backing away. Zoomed in on the border. She watched in real time as Cole's ship passed the last neutral marker. The defense buoys around the line shifted their stance. Their sensor beams tightened. Their internal power signatures spiked. It was like watching a wall that had looked like mist turn into solid stone. Her station did not control those buoys. The network they belonged to was older than her job and higher than her clearance. She could only observe, but even with limited access, she could see that the system recognized Cole's ship. It did not treat him like an enemy. It treated him like a trigger. Far from its quiet relay hub, another ship floated in the dark, its engines on idle. The Rook held position just outside the border, its heavy frame lit only by the dull glow from the distant defense grid. Inside, in a small command cabin, Carter sat in his chair and watched the same line of light as Cole. He was a big man with a shaved head and a short beard. His right arm had a wide, pale burn scar from shoulder to wrist, a mark from a job gone wrong years before. He had been in tight spots, seen war zones and pirate nests, and he understood fear. He just did not feel it very often. Right now he did. A younger crew member stepped into the cabin. "We are losing the bounty, Captain. If he docks inside, we will never get another shot." Did not look away from the border. "We were never going to take that shot," he said in a low voice. "But the money," the crewman said. "They doubled the reward yesterday. If we give up now, we might not get work like this again." Turned his chair slightly and met the young man's eyes. "Have you ever fought humans in their own space?" The crewman shook his head. "No, sir." "I have," said. "Once. I still wake up thinking about it." The crewman swallowed. "I thought the stories were just that, stories." Looked back at the line of defense buoys. "They are not just stories. They can see us. They know what we are doing, and they are waiting to see if we are stupid." On another vector near the same border, the Dawn's Edge held still. Inside, paced across her small command deck, hands on her hips, jaw tight. Her navigator, a slim man with tired eyes, watched her carefully. "We are already here. If we leave now, we burn fuel for nothing. You sure you want to pull out?" Stopped walking. She looked at the border, then at the tracking display where Colehart's ship moved deeper into the protected region. "Our target chose where to run," she said. "He did not pick that direction by accident." "Maybe he is just desperate," the navigator said. "No," she replied. "If he was desperate, he would have tried to lose us in the belt or in some busy port. He went to the one place where every hunter turns around. That means he knows something, or someone. Either way, I am not going to push our luck." She tapped the console and marked the pursuit as canceled. The system asked for a reason. She left the field blank and sent it anyway. Across dozens of ships around the border, similar choices were made. Some captains did not admit fear. They spoke instead of fuel costs, or time, or better contracts elsewhere. But when they were alone, when no crew watched, many of them stared at that faint line and thought about old rumors. They had heard about patrol fleets that never missed a shot, about drones that could cut a cruiser apart in seconds, about hidden stations that could see every drive flare from halfway across the sector. And above all, they had heard the same simple warning: do not bring your trouble into human space. Watched all of this unfold in the data. She saw the list of hunter ships grow more distant as they moved away from the border. She saw Cole's ship continue forward, alone, untouched. The contrast made a knot form in her stomach. It was like watching a single person walk calmly into the center of a storm, while all the lightning turned away from them. She checked her time log. Her shift was supposed to end an hour ago, but no one had come to replace her yet, and she did not call anyone about it. She did not want to step away from her screen, not while this was happening. "Come on," she whispered, not sure if she spoke to Cole or to the systems that watched him. "What are you?" Her console chimed again. This time, it was not a bounty board update. It was a message from a secure channel she had never seen before. The tag on it was short and clear. Priority Human Security Command. Routing, informational only. Her hand slowed. She hesitated, then opened the message. It was just a short block of text, but her heart beat faster as she read it. Protected asset entering jurisdiction. All external pursuits terminated. Standard border posture active. no further action required at this level. That was it, no name, no code phrase beyond that simple label, protected asset. Leaned back and let out a slow breath. The system was not surprised by Cole Hart. It had been expecting him. It did not see him as a criminal. It saw him as something under its care. She looked again at his ship on the display. It moved past the outer defense ring now, escorted by a pattern of small drone blips that had not been there a moment before. They snapped into formation around him with cold precision, like they had rehearsed this many times in simulations. He was under guard, but not as a prisoner. Far ahead, in the dark ahead of his bow, human space opened like a deep, quiet ocean. Cole Hart watched the drones take their places around his ship and let his fingers relax even more on the controls. He did not smile, he did not speak, but a small tension eased from his shoulders. Behind him, the hunters waited at their line. They watched him go and did not follow. Cole knew they would not here. The galaxy had many borders. Trade borders, customs borders, invisible lines between rich systems and poor ones. But this border was different. This border did not exist for taxes or traffic. It existed to make a promise. Inside the space, the rules changed. Cole had bet his life on that promise. Did not know the details, and did not know them either. None of the captains hovering at the edge had the full story. They only knew the feeling in their chest when they looked at that soft glow of defense buoys and thought of crossing. They felt the weight of all the stories they had heard, spoken in low voices in station bars and ship mess halls. Stories of fleets that arrived without warning, of targets that vanished once they passed this line, as if the universe itself had swallowed them. On this day, all those stories came together in a single clear picture. A wanted man crossed into human space. 1,000 hunters backed away. The buoys woke up. The drones moved. A relay analyst read a line she had never seen before. The border did not roar or flash. It did not shout. It simply existed, and everyone who saw it understood that the hunt was no longer their business. Cole Hart's engine glowed as his ship moved deeper into the quiet. Behind him, alarms had blared across many systems as he ran. Now, new alarms whispered to life, not to warn of danger, but to signal something else. Human space had accepted him. On the edge of that space, beyond the reach of its promise, the rest of the galaxy paused and took notice. Cole Hart's ship moved deeper into human space, guided by silent escort drones that never drifted out of place. They did not speak. They did not flash warnings. They simply matched his speed and position with perfect control. It was like flying through a moving cage made of light, strong but calm. Cole kept his eyes forward. The main display showed a calm route line toward an inner checkpoint station. He had not been given a choice. The moment he crossed the border, the system had taken control of his approach path. He knew better than to resist it. Fighting now would only make everything worse. His ship passed another layer of sensors. Invisible beams brushed the hull, reading its surface, its core, its air pressure, and even the faint patterns of his biosigns. Cole felt the weight of that scan, but he did not flinch. He had waited a long time for this moment, and fear had already taken its place long ago. In the relay hub, sat forward again, hands resting on the edge of her console. The data flowing past her screen had changed. The frantic pulses from bounty networks had fallen silent. In their place were smooth and precise human command signals that followed strict patterns, clean and controlled. She filtered what she could see. Much of it was locked behind layers of clearance she did not have, but even the small parts she could observe told a clear story. Human security forces were not reacting in panic. They were executing a plan already written. A new display opened on her side screen. It showed an inner station approaching Cole's ship. The station was broad and heavy, built like a thick ring with solid arms stretched out into space. Docking lights formed slow, steady paths for guided entry. Whispered to herself, They are bringing him in. She expected alarms to grow louder. She expected orders for intercept, for arrest, for lockdown. None came. Instead, a calm series of route confirmations updated in quiet lines of text. Incoming vessel authorized. Escort maintained. Approach channel assigned. Cole's ship adjusted its angle without his touch. He let it. He leaned back slightly in his seat and watched the station grow larger. He had not seen a human facility this close in years. The design was familiar yet strange, simple yet powerful. It carried a feeling he could not describe, something between safety and judgment. A soft chime sounded in his cockpit. A voice followed, even and clear. Cole Hart, remain seated and keep your hands visible. You will be guided into docking bay 3. Do not deviate from the path. The voice did not carry anger. It did not carry warmth either. It was pure control. Understood, Cole replied. He did not add anything else. He did not ask who was speaking. He already knew it was a human security officer. Inside the station, Morgan stood in a narrow observation room overlooking the docking bays below. Transparent panels stretched from floor to ceiling, giving her a full view of the incoming ship. Her uniform was clean and sharp, marked only by a simple badge and a small data pad at her side. Brooke stood next to her, arms crossed, eyes narrowed in quiet focus. That is him, said. He looks small for the trouble he caused. Trouble is not always loud, replied. Sometimes it walks in quiet and waits for the right door. They watched as Cole's ship slid into place. The drones guided it down with careful precision. Metal locks clamped onto the hull with a low mechanical sound. The bay sealed. Air pressure adjusted. The heavy outer doors slid shut. In the control room behind them, technicians monitored dozens of screens. Status lights turned from cautious yellow to steady white. The situation was under control, just as the system had planned. Escort complete, a technician called. Docking secure. Nodded once. Send ground team. No aggression. Standard welcome protocol. Raised an eyebrow slightly. You trust him that much? I trust the file we received about him, she said. And I trust the decision that put his name on protected status. Cole remained seated as the bay atmosphere stabilized. He felt the faint shift in pressure through the hull. The last of the drones detached and floated back to their waiting positions along the bay ceiling. Quiet filled the space around him. Then came the real test. The outer hatch of his ship released with a slow hiss. The corridor outside was bright and clean, lined with pale panels and soft lights. 2 human officers stood there, hands resting calmly at their sides, not on their weapons. Cole Hart, one of them said, follow us. He stood, rolled his shoulders once and stepped down onto the cool metal floor. His boots echoed lightly as he moved forward. The officers turned and began walking, their pace measured, leaving him to follow a few steps behind. In the relay hub, finally realized how tense she had been holding herself. She loosened her grip on the desk. So they did not shoot him, she said, almost surprised. A nearby glanced at her. Who? No one, she replied quickly, just thinking out loud. But inside, she kept watching, her curiosity growing stronger. She felt pulled into a story she could not control and could not turn away from. Cole walked past sealed doors and silent hallways. The station felt quiet for a structure that housed so much power. Every sound was soft, controlled, as if even the walls knew how to behave. They led him into a smaller chamber with smooth metal walls and a single table in the center. A panel slid shut behind him. The 2 officers stepped aside and entered through a second door. Studied him for a moment. She examined the scar on his face, the tired lines near his eyes, and the calm way he held himself. You made a lot of people nervous today, she said. That was never my goal, Cole replied. I only needed to reach this space. You could have requested entry through official channels, added. You did not have to drag half the bounty network behind you. Cole looked down briefly, then back up. Those channels were closed to me for a reason I did not create. Gestured to the chair across from the table. Sit. He did. His hands rested calmly on the metal surface. We know who you are, she continued. We know what the syndicates say about you. We also know the history they do not like to mention. Placed a slim data pad on the table and slid it forward. It projected a faint image in the air between them. A scene of burning structures, broken ground, and scattered figures filled the space. Cole's jaw tightened. You were on that colony when it fell, said. You were one of the few adults who walked away. It was not really walking, he said quietly. It was more like surviving what refused to kill me. His voice softened slightly. And the people who did this? They called themselves a business group, Cole replied. They said they were here for resources. When they met resistance, they turned the place into smoke. Watched his face closely. That event is the root of your status here, she said. You returned something to us that day. Cole lifted his eyes. I only transmitted what I found. And that data saved lives later, she said. It warned us of a method of attack we had not seen before. The syndicate thought they erased their tracks. They did not count on you. Silence filled the room for a moment. Cole breathed in slowly. I did not do it for credit. I did it because no one else should wake up to a sky on fire. Nodded once, respectful now. But your recent actions, continued. The theft, the broken systems, the destroyed relay behind the moon of, those did not go unnoticed either. Cole's eyes narrowed slightly. They were connected to the same people. You caused damage to multiple assets, she said. You also prevented a data sale that would have powered a private war. And yet the syndicates only reported the damage, he replied, not the reason. Offered no argument. That is how such groups survive. They rewrite the story until they sound like the victim. She leaned forward slightly. You knew this was the only place you could enter without being shot on sight. Yes, Cole said, and I knew you might still do it. Allowed a faint breath that almost sounded like a short laugh. We would not waste that chance. Straightened. You are here under guarded status. We do not call it protection. We call it conditional trust. Cole nodded slowly. I will take that over a contract on my head. Outside that chamber, still watched, still learning what little her access allowed. She saw only basic movement patterns and security confirmations, but her mind filled the blanks with images. A wanted man in a clean station, human officers speaking in low, controlled tones, a story deeper than simple crime. On the edge of human space, Carter finally issued the order to turn away. The Rook adjusted its thrusters and pulled back from the border. The soft glow faded slightly as distance grew. The young crewman approached him again. So that's it, sir. Gave a slow nod. That's it. We just watched someone pass into a wall we are not meant to cross. Think he will come back out? Looked once more at the dimming line. If he does, it will be because humans let him, and if they let him, no one will touch him. Back in the station, closed the data projection and folded her hands on the table. You will remain here for now, she said. You will receive food, rest, and monitored access to communication. Cooperation will keep this smooth. Cole met her eyes. I did not come here to cause trouble. I believe you, said. That does not mean trouble will not try to find you anyway. Open the door behind them. Follow the officer on the right. He will take you to your assigned quarters. Cole rose again. He did not hesitate. He understood that trust here was measured in quiet behavior, not in grand speech. As he walked out, watched him for a long second, thoughtful. He carries too much weight for one man, said softly. So did many before him, she replied. The difference is whether the weight breaks them or sharpens them. Cole walked down another corridor, guided toward a room that would now be his temporary home. The soft footsteps of the officer echoed ahead of him. The hum of the station surrounded him like a low, distant tide. For the first time in many years, he felt a strange absence of constant threat. Not safety, not peace, but a pause. A moment where the chase did not bite at his heels. And far beyond the station walls, beyond the clean light and calm control, the rest of the galaxy continued its usual noise. Deals, hunts, lies, and fear moved on as they always had. But one thing had changed without a single shot fired. Human space had drawn its quiet line. A wanted man had crossed it, and the universe had stepped back. Cole's heart settled into the small room that the station had assigned to him. It was simple and clean. A narrow bed rested against one wall. A small table sat under a soft light panel. A sealed window showed a strip of deep space, calm and endless. The door behind him remained shut, but he could sense that it was never fully unlocked. He placed his worn bag on the floor and sat on the edge of the bed. The silence felt strange. No engines shaking under his feet, no warning tones, no distant pulse of hostile scanners, just a low hum from the station systems and his own steady breathing. He closed his eyes for a moment, but his mind did not rest. Images came instead. Fire on the colony ground, smoke rising into a broken sky, people running and calling names that were never answered. He opened his eyes again and looked at his hands. They were steady. They had been steady for a long time. It was a skill he had learned too early. Staying calm had kept him alive when panic would have killed him. Outside the room, human security continued its routine checks. Cole's file passed through several layers of review. Each officer who opened it saw the same mix of danger and value. A man with a history of disruption and a record of quiet loyalty when it mattered most. Morgan read through his recent activity again in her office. The reports showed stolen access codes, severed power lines, and rerouted data paths. They also showed prevented transfers, blocked weapon shipments, and a syndicate operation that had fallen apart after his interference. Brooks leaned on the edge of her desk. "He walks a thin line," he said. "Not fully clean, not fully dangerous." "He walks it on purpose," replied. "That is what concerns me and what makes him useful." "You think he came back for more than safety?" asked. "I am sure of it," she said. "Humans did not build walls like this just for shelter. People come here when they need something only we can offer." On the outer edges of human space, in darker sectors, the syndicates that had placed the bounties did not share the same calm. Messages flew between underground stations and hidden relay points. The name Coleheart appeared again and again across private channels. One voice, low and sharp, cut through the system. "He reached their space. That was not part of the plan." Another replied, "No one predicted he would dare go that far." "He did more than dare," a third voice said. "He ran straight into it." The leader of the group spoke again, annoyed. "We do not lose assets like this without response. Start a quiet search for ways around their border, not a direct strike. I want information first." "But the hunters refused to follow him," someone added. "Then we do not use hunters," the leader replied. "We use patience." Back in the station, Cole received his first allowed communication slot. A small panel in the wall flashed with a soft light. He touched it, and a short menu opened. No open network, no system access beyond approved contact. Only one recorded message waited for him. He hesitated before playing it. A familiar face appeared on the screen. A woman with tired eyes and short dark hair. Her expression was firm but concerned. "You stubborn man," she said. "I saw the alerts. You crossed the line after all." Her name was Lisa Morgan, distant family too, but unknown to the station team. She had once worked beside Cole during quieter days, before syndicates and borders defined their lives. "I told you not to carry this alone," she continued. "But I also know you won't listen. Just remember, the people you are running from are not going to forgive your silence, and they won't forget the data you took." The message ended without promise or comfort, just truth. Cole stared at the blank screen after it faded. He knew she was right. He had not come here only to vanish. He had come because the threat he carried needed to be answered, and only one place held the power to do it. Hours later, 2 officers brought him back to the main interview chamber. This time, the table held not only a data pad but also a tall projection collar that glowed faintly. And waited again. "We need clarity," said. "Full clarity, no fragments." Cole looked at the device. "You want the rest." "We want the truth as you saw it," she replied. "You are the only one who walked out with that data alive." Cole drew in a slow breath and placed his hand on the glowing collar. Images began to stream into the air around them. Not clean reports or structured files, but raw memory fragments translated into light and sound. A mining colony, workers moving in steady lines. A horizon filled with thin towers. Then strange ships descending, smooth and dark. Syndicate symbols flashing on their hulls. Automated weapons activating without warning. Explosions tearing through living quarters. Cole's younger voice echoed through the chamber, shaky but clear, shouting for people to run, grabbing a data core from a shattered control room, crawling through ruined stone as fire licked at the walls. Watched in silence, his jaw tightened. The scene shifted, Cole hiding among broken ground, transmitting emergency packets toward the nearest signal range. Then a small ship lifting him away as the colony burned below. The memory faded. "Spoke softly this time, and the files you took after that." Cole pressed his hand against the collar again. More images surfaced. Hidden syndicate archives, weapon contracts labeled as research, energy devices designed for first strike dominance, a pattern of planned attacks on border zones that human space relied upon to stay secure. "This was meant for your eyes," he said. "They wanted to test how fast you could respond. I stopped one shipment, but I could not stop their plan." Glanced at, they were measuring reaction time. "Yes," she said, "and now they know we are watching." Cole lowered his hand. The projection dimmed. "I did not just run to save myself," he said. "I ran because the system that ranked my bounty highest was the same system scheduling their next trial assault. I wanted your walls to see me before their weapons did." Silence settled again, heavier than before. Took a slow step back. "You brought a risk to our doorstep." "And a warning," he replied. "You can decide which weighs more." Nodded slightly. "The difference is we believe you." On the outer layer of the station, watched a broad tactical map load into her limited access space. She did not understand all of it, but she recognized a pattern when she saw one. Several outer markers shifted from passive to alert status. It was subtle, almost polite, but strong enough to change the tone of the system. She leaned toward her again. "Are we preparing for something?" The other analyst shrugged. Could be routine, could be more, hard to tell. But felt it in the flow of data. Human space was not just watching anymore. It was listening, calculating, and readying itself. Cole returned to his assigned room later that cycle. The pace of the station felt slightly changed now. More controlled movement, more quiet voices over the internal channels, the calm before pressure. He sat again on the edge of the bed and stared out at the dark stretch beyond the window. Somewhere out there, syndicate leaders read reports about his arrival. Somewhere out there, captains weighed the cost of curiosity against the nature of human defense. He understood that he had become more than a man that day. He had become a signal. In a secure command center deeper inside the station, and joined a larger briefing group. A wide table filled with projecting lights showed paths of possible incursion. Each line marked risk, delay, and counter-movement. "Probability of hostile probing has increased," one officer said. "They want to test reaction without direct conflict." "And they think Colehart is the weak point," another added. Shook her head. They misunderstand us if they believe we protect him out of weakness. Then we let them misunderstand, replied. That gives us control. As hours passed, Cole began to notice small changes. The station no longer felt like only a refuge. It felt like a waiting ground, a place where stillness gathered into something sharp and prepared. He received another short approved message, this time from Lisa again, but the tone was different. They are moving quietly, she warned. New channels opened, old contacts silenced. Keep your head low even where you are. Cole closed the panel and leaned back against the wall. He knew rest would not come easily. Beyond human territory, a syndicate scout ship drifted near a distant relay point. Its systems monitored nothing obvious, but its sensors were fine-tuned. They tracked power echoes from far inside protected space, studying the rhythm and scale of response. One operator spoke softly. They changed posture. They know we are watching. The captain answered, calm and cold. Good, that means the bait is working. Back on the station, Cole walked a short corridor under escort for a scheduled meal. The room was plain, shared by a few other temporary residents under watch. Some glanced at him and quickly looked away. Others studied him with quiet curiosity. He sat alone and ate without rush. The food was simple but well-balanced. He had not eaten this steadily in a long time. Even that small act felt strange. When he returned to his room, he caught his reflection in the polished door panel. Tired, still standing, he did not look like a hero or a threat, just a man who had chosen the only path left open to him. And beyond the walls, the universe waited to see what humanity would do with him. The quiet did not mean peace. It meant something was forming, slowly and carefully, like a storm gathering behind clear skies. Cole understood that storms always came in their own time. All he could do now was stand where he was and trust that the walls he had crossed would not break under what followed. The station grew quieter as the cycle moved forward, but the silence did not feel like rest. It felt like focus. Every corridor, every control room, every checkpoint carried a careful tension. Not panic, not fear, just ready attention. Cole Hart sensed it even inside his assigned quarters. The low hum of the walls seemed sharper. The footsteps outside were more precise. The silent watchers of the system were awake and alert. He stood by the narrow window and watched distant stars drift past. Somewhere out there, beyond layers of defense and silent sensors, the syndicates waited. They always waited. They watched until they believed the moment was right. Inside the command center, Morgan stood before a wide display filled with soft, glowing markers. Each one represented a point along the border. Each one could be tested. Brooks stepped closer. Long-range sensors picked up a minor ripple near the outer edge. Nothing direct yet, but it has the shape of a probe. Nodded slowly. They are feeling for response time. They think they can stay unseen. A calm voice from another officer filled the room. Shall we activate Shadow Grid? Yes, said. Let them think we are slow. The Shadow Grid was not a weapon. It was a trick of space and signal, a layer of false silence designed to make observers feel bold. Human command systems shifted posture in a way that looked delayed, uncertain, even weak. Far beyond the border, a small syndicate vessel detected the change. They hesitated, the operator said, pleased. They are not as sharp as their legends claim. The captain smiled faintly. Report back. Tell them the gap is real. Back in the station, Cole was called to the central viewing chamber. This was not for discussion. This was for observation. He entered with 2 officers and standing near a wide panel overlooking deep space. You asked to be here for the truth, said. Now you will see it. Cole nodded but said nothing. The panel opened a live feed of the border region. Distant shapes moved slowly, so small they almost blended with the black. Human defense stations held silent position, their presence hidden, their energy masked until the last instant. You were not the only reason for their curiosity, said. You became the door they wanted to test. I did not mean to be a door, Cole replied quietly. You are not, said. You are the signal they cannot ignore. On the screen, a faint disturbance grew clearer. A scout drone emerged from a thin warp line near the edge of the boundary. It moved carefully, slow and measured, as if afraid of making noise. Human systems waited. The scout moved closer. It scanned, probing for weakness, measuring delay. It remained just outside what it believed was safe ground. Then, without a single visible warning, space around it changed. A layer of drones appeared like breath turning to frost. Before the scout could adjust, a precise energy net surrounded it. The syndicate operator shouted in surprise, but the feed only showed a bright flash before the signal vanished completely. Cole watched, eyes steady. That was only a reminder, said. Not a threat. We let them take that image home. Added, now they know exactly how fast we can move. Cole exhaled slowly. They will not stop. No, agreed, but now they understand what stopping looks like. Hours later, the station remained calm. No alarms blared, no battles erupted, but every system was alive, watching, ready. Far from the central command, but still within the web of data, her console recorded the sudden collapse of a foreign signal, followed by quiet syndicate channel chatter that reeked of frustration. She whispered softly, they touched the line. Her glanced at the screen and got burned. Yes, said, but not enough to forget. Cole returned to his quarters, but rest still avoided him. He received one final message from Lisa Morgan. They tried you, she said, concern clear in her voice. Their first touch failed. That will only make them more careful. He nodded slowly, even though she could not see him. I know. You did the right thing coming here, she added more softly, no matter what happens next. The screen faded, leaving him alone again. Later that cycle requested another private talk. Cole walked the corridor under escort and entered the chamber once more. This time, only she stood there. You should know something, she said. We do not protect people simply because they suffered. I did not ask for pity, Cole replied. And we are not offering it, she said calmly. You are here because your choices aligned with our survival. That matters. She paused for a moment. You came to us with warning, not demand. That also matters. Cole lowered his gaze briefly. If I had not crossed your border, I would be dead or silent by now. Yes, said, and if you had stayed silent, we might have been tested blind. That is where trust begins. He looked back at her. What happens now? You stay under guard, she replied. You live, you breathe, you recover, and you watch with us as the storm moves around the walls instead of through them. Beyond human space, the Syndicate Council reviewed the scout loss in quiet anger. Their leader spoke again. They reacted faster than our fear tables predicted. So the border is as strong as they claim, another voice said. No, the leader replied. It is stronger than they claim, and that makes it interesting. But Cole's heart remains inside, a third added, protected. For now, the leader said, but one day he will leave, and when he does, their line does not follow him. Weeks passed inside human space. This calm was not wasted. It was used. Cole assisted with memory reconstructions, helped map hidden syndicate patterns, and sat through countless quiet sessions that sharpened human knowledge. He was no longer only a fugitive. He was part of a larger defense that reached beyond his own fear. During this time, the border remained unbroken. The scouts did not return. The probes grew more distant. The quiet watchers of human space learned the rhythm of the threat and adjusted with careful patience. Outside, the galaxy whispered stories again. Stories of how every bounty hunter stepped back, of how a wanted man crossed an invisible line and lived, of how human space did not answer with rage but with calm certainty. In the relay hubs and port bars, hunters spoke in lowered voices. He walked into their fire and came out untouched. No one chases into that silence. That border eats pride. On a distant patrol route, Carter heard those stories travel through open channels. He said nothing, but a faint respect settled in his chest. He chose bravery over gold, his crewman said quietly. Nodded once, and he chose the right kind. Back inside the station, Cole stood again at the viewing panel. The stars no longer looked like enemies. They looked like a silent field of watchful eyes. Joined him without formal tone. "You changed more than you think," she said. "I followed the only road left," he replied. "And by doing so, you showed the galaxy that some roads end at our door," she added. Outside that door, the syndicates adjusted their tactics. With every failed test, their caution grew, their patience stretched, their desire to strike turned into uneasy respect. And inside, human space remained still, unbroken and aware. Cole Hart stood in that stillness and understood something at last. He had not merely escaped a hunt. He had crossed into a place that did not bend for fear, a place that chose control over chaos, a place that protected without boasting. The final truth settled into him as clearly as the hum of the station walls. Human space did not shout its power. It proved it by the way everyone else stayed away. And as the galaxy watched, as stories turned to caution and caution to silence, one message rang through every hidden channel and every wary mind. When the target entered human space, the chase ended. Not because of mercy, but because humanity had already decided the outcome.